The movie tells the story of a university graduate who, unable to find a satisfying job, kidnaps three rich kids and achieves a reversal of fortune by extorting a high ransom. Paul was born into an ordinary family and had just graduated from college when the financial crisis hit. Due to the economic downturn, he could not find a suitable job, so he worked as a courier. But this was not the life he wanted, and he imagined that one day he could make a difference. Paul's current situation reflects the confusion and disorientation experienced by college graduates at this time. That day, Paul went for another interview and, not surprisingly, he was rejected again. Paul was so angry that he slammed the door and left. In front of the reality, the ideal seemed so bad. When Paul returned home, he saw that the bottle of medicine on the table was empty. It turned out that his sick mother needed an expensive special medicine to keep her alive, and the family could not afford to buy this medicine in the current situation. This made Paul, who had graduated 2 years ago and still lived with his parents, feel very guilty and remorseful, and he decided to sell the watch his parents gave him for money to buy medicine. Just after buying the medicine, he returned home with great enthusiasm, but found his mother with a sad face, because the house will be confiscated by the bank if he does not pay the mortgage. At this point Paul found that complying with the rules and regulations of society, but living in such a dilemma. Then the only way to make life better is to break this rule. He decides to carry out a long-planned kidnapping plan, but it's something he can't do alone. He finds two friends he has just met, Anna and Dean. Both of them have typical antisocial personalities and a strong hatred of the rich, and often hang out on Paul's college campus. Anna happens to be in love with Paul and is willing to give everything for him, which happens to be exploited by Paul. Dean, on the other hand, becomes friends with Paul because he feels that Paul and himself are kindred spirits. Blind love and fearless hatred blinded the two young men, they had no idea what was waiting for them. Paul's plan sounds simple enough: kidnap the children of three wealthy local men for money, get the ransom and then kill them. Dean was very excited after hearing the plan. He felt it was time to destroy the lives of the rich and powerful. On this day, rich kids Jeff, Nick and Haley take the car to the hilltop house, ready to spend a good weekend with their fathers. As their car reaches the mountain road, Anna's car pulls ahead and stops them. Just as Jeff gets out of the car to ask about the situation, Dean emerges from the woods with a gun, followed by the panicked trio being blindfolded and taken to a house on the outskirts of town. Paul is waiting here for a long time, looking at the three captured. Paul threw the voice changer to call the rich, asking them to prepare 3 million ransom. Half an hour later he will call again to tell them the bank account number, and warn them not to call the police, or they will kill the hostages. Subsequently, the panic of the two fathers immediately contacted Jeff's father, but the phone has not been able to want to call the police and worry that the robbers will kill the children. The two men were at a loss and had to find a way to raise money first. Half an hour later, Paul called on time, but Jeff's father has not yet arrived. The two men requested some more time extension. But Anna on the other end of the phone thought that they didn't want to pay the ransom at all and killed Jeff on impulse. At that moment, hearing that Jeff was killed, the two fathers panicked even more. Paul, on the other hand, warned them that if they didn't want this kind of thing to happen again, they should hurry up and prepare the ransom money, and gave them the bank account number. Seeing the death of a hostage, Dean began to panic, but Paul told him that he had installed a time bomb in the villa of the rich party, which would automatically explode at 3 o'clock at night, and the room where the hostage was taken would be burned down by him afterwards, leaving no trace. And Anna, who was guarding the hostages, told the rich kid about the hidden bomb in order to show off. After dark, Jeff's father finally came to the villa and did not notice anything unusual about the two of them. They were worried that Jeff's father would call the police and cause the children to be killed by the robbers, and chose to hide the truth. When Jeff's father asked how the children had not arrived yet, they told him that the children had entered the police station with a DUI and had let their lawyer go to bail and would be back soon. With that, they fooled Jeff's father. While Paul and the gang are celebrating the impending ransom, Nick and Haley have quietly untied the ropes and escaped from the room. When Dean, who had finished his drink, went downstairs to check on them, he realized that the hostages had escaped. Paul immediately tells them to look along the woods while he stays in the room to wait for the ransom to arrive. At this time Haley's father was ready to pay the ransom, while Nick's father could only raise $250,000 due to a cash flow problem. Seeing the two of them whispering, Jeff's father suspected that they had something to hide from him. In desperation, the two men had to tell about the kidnapping of their children and the need to prepare $1 million each to transfer to the kidnapper's account. But they concealed Jeff's death, and the wealthy Jeff's father immediately transferred the $1 million. His own children have died, but also for the children of others to pay the ransom, Nick's father's selfishness exposed. At this point, Paul sees that his bank account has received the ransom money, so he calls Anna and tells them to give up the chase and meet him at the gas station. Dean, however, felt that the rich kids had to be killed, so he and Anna continued the chase. Soon catching up with them, Dean opened fire on Nick, not realizing that the gun was actually loaded with blanks. While he was still reacting, Nick and Haley quickly ran away. At this point, Paul calls Haley's father and tells them that the hostages have left safely and will arrive home at the top of the mountain in an hour. He also threatened them not to answer the phone again and relayed to the children that the game was over. When he left the room, he only took the bottle he had been drinking from and did not clean up the rest of the scene. Meanwhile, the three fathers had an argument while waiting anxiously, and Haley's father revealed the news of Jeff's death. Jeff's father is in deep pain after hearing this. As the scene shifts, Nick calls his father as he passes by the gas station, but no one answers because the kidnappers had warned him about them from the beginning. Just then, Anna arrives and Nick and Haley immediately hide. Just as Anna is about to leave, she suddenly hears voices coming from the phone and runs over to check. Nick, who was hiding behind a table, overturned it, knocked Anna to the ground, and choked her to suffocate her. The two escape again, and when Dean arrives, he sees Anna lying in a coma, having just woken up from a coma, and the hostage having escaped, and in a fit of rage kicks Anna several times, eventually killing her. When Paul arrives, Dean blames the escaped hostage for Anna's death. But none of that matters anymore, and Paul tells Dean the real plan. It turns out that Paul found the two of them in order to take advantage of their antisocial personalities and strong hatred of the rich to take the blame for this perfect kidnapping case. Moreover, he had secretly used Dean's ID and credit card to book 2 tickets to fly abroad. In addition, Paul was wearing gloves during the entire kidnapping process. Even the cell phone used for blackmail was Dean's. What's more, the surveillance in the room could see that it was Dean and Anna who kidnapped the three of them. Paul has never been in front of the hostages since the beginning, and the time bomb is also a fake. Paul knew that Dean was impulsive and had a history of suicide, so after this kidnapping fell through, it made sense to kill his companion and then kill himself. After explaining the whole plan, he shot and killed Dean. At this point, Nick and Haley finally escaped back to the villa, and their fathers told them that the kidnappers said the game was over. At this point, the two realized that the bomb was a fake. As they were breathing a sigh of relief, there was a sudden knock at the door. It turned out to be Paul, the son of Nick's father's driver, who knew everyone's information like the back of his hand. Paul then said he had come to take his father home and said that when he passed the gas station, he saw a man beating a woman and chose to call the police. This statement did not raise any suspicion, as the rich boy believed that the two men were the kidnappers. Soon the police arrived at the villa, and after taking a statement, Paul and his father were on their way home. The ending of the film is open-ended, leaving a lot of room for imagination. Will everything really be okay? In fact, not. The world does not exist in the perfect crime. The crime seems perfect, but a little attention to detail will find that there are many loopholes. We have to believe that justice is never late. To change your fate, you can only get it through the regular way.